everyone, and thank you for joining us for this year's IUSA Executive Debate. Can everyone hear me all right? My name is Aparna Srinath, and I'm the chair of the IUSA Elections Commission. I'm excited to introduce the 3 tickets running in the election this year and participating in today's debate. From left to right, Amplify for IUSA, In Touch for IUSA, and Unify for IUSA. We're honored to have with us moderating the debate current Bloomington Mayor Mark Kruzan. Mayor Kruzan received degrees in journalism and political science from IU Bloomington in 1982 and a JD from the IU Mars School of Law in 1985. During his time at IU, he served as IUSA Student Body President and has been serving his current role as mayor since 2003. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Mark Kruzan.
Thank you very much, Aparna, and thank you all for attending. And I'm going to ask the same question, although if you can't hear me, I'm not sure you'll know what I'm asking you if you can hear me. Can you hear me? A little bit? Thank you. I really did appreciate part of the invitation to participate and want to say congratulations and thank you to all the election commission members. I want to have a round of applause for the election commission. I'm here to disbelieve that it has been more than 3 decades since I was running. We didn't have the same format that you do now, but I can tell you in all honesty that I really do remember it like it was yesterday, and that you all, 30 years from now, will look back on the experience, I hope with pleasant memories, and remember it. And I want to applaud each and every one of you as candidates, whoever else is running on slates, for stepping forward and putting yourself out there to run for office. And from having read all of your platforms online, it's clear that you're all running to make life better for your fellow student, and that's a fact of which you should all take great pride. But in a democracy, not everybody will win an election. It's important for the voters that they have an opportunity to learn what you stand for and why you have earned their vote on April 8th and 9th. The rules of the debate are pretty straightforward. Each ticket will have 3 minutes for opening and closing statements. There will be 6 questions posed. 9 minutes have been allotted for each of those questions. Each ticket will have 2 minutes to respond to each question, and we will rotate which ticket speaks first. The final 3 minutes of each question will be allowed for open discussion, and I may have a follow-up or 2 as we go along. No ticket may speak, again, for more than a minute in that follow-up. Joined by our official timekeeper here. I think you all know the rules and know who the timekeeper is. Remember, I have my own police force, so if you ignore that, there may be trouble. We will begin with opening statements, and I believe they all were pre-selected, and you all know who's first. But Amplify, you have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Thanks so much. Good evening. My name is Nick Laszlo, and I'm running for president with the Amplify for IUSA ticket. Joining me here is Sohee Kwan for Vice President of Administration, Zach Farmer for Vice President of Congress, and AJ Gauthier for Treasurer. Each of us have been involved in IUSA for the majority of our college careers, and we all agree that working with this organization has been the most rewarding part of our experience at IU. Personally, I've been involved as a co-chief of marketing last year and the current treasurer of IUSA this year. Sohee serves as the current co-chair of Culture Care, a group that has truly made a movement on IU's campus to better student life. Zach serves as a director in the outreach department, which has made great strides to connect the student voice to IUSA advocacy. AJ is the chief of partnerships and special projects, a department that the current administration created this year to better manage IUSA's third-party relationships. Outside of IUSA, our team is made up of athletes, scholars, leaders, Greeks, and students in the College of Arts and Sciences, School of Education, and the Kelley School of Business. Through our experience in multiple areas of campus, we have observed the needs of all students. And additionally, in our involvement with IUSA, we've observed what the organization can do and what it can do well. And that is the cornerstone of our platform, which consists of cross-cultural development, sustainability, personal health, and community engagement. We view IU Bloomington as a campus vibrant with cultures from around the world, and we want to provide as many opportunities as possible for both international and domestic students to experience all that other cultures have to offer. To accomplish this, we will create a pre-orientation connections program for prospective and enrolled international students, a global student forum, and more. To push our campus to become more sustainable, we hope to implement practical initiatives that not only save the university money, but also advocate for increased funding to the Office of Sustainability. As a large school, it's absolutely imperative that we take care of our students, which is why we will advocate for increased and more efficient services to create an environment for better mental health and sexual well-being. We will work with CAPS to make the patient experience more confidential and comfortable, as well as the university to protect those who have been involved in sexual violence incidents and prevent sexual assaults on campus. Lastly, our vision of the ideal student experience is one filled with opportunities for community engagement. In this area, we have made meaningful strides towards tailgates at soccer and baseball games, a meal points donation program, a food truck park, and a community fair complete with service learning and fundraising opportunities. Most importantly, though, is the fact that we are the best people to implement these policy points. We have the passion, creativity, and administrative know-how to ensure that each of our policy points is immediately actionable. We have already gotten to work meeting with stakeholders for many of our policy points, and if we're fortunate enough to be elected, we are ready for immediate action. So please join us in making our ideas a reality.
In touch, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ann Tinder. I'm a junior political science student. I'm the current director of state and legislative affairs for InTouch and serve as a freshman intern, of IUSA, excuse me, and served as a freshman intern for IUSA. As a woman and an IU student, the InTouch platform I'm most excited about is our GIS mapping initiative. So essentially it's taking campus crime data, envisioning it on a map, and being able to see problem areas of crime, and therefore being able to target those areas efficiently and creatively through that process. Thank you.
My name is Wes Caprill. I'm a junior studying supply chain management. I recently spent a year as an interfraternity council executive, and I'm the current vice president of my fraternity, Sigma Phi Epsilon. After receiving offers to join all 3 tickets, I ultimately decided on the InTouch because of the vision, approach, and overall character of everyone on the ticket. Their platforms resonated with me, especially their focus on issues I heard while on IFC, such as the Student Organization Ethics Board needs to be reformed and more oversight needs to be placed upon it, and sexual assault awareness and prevention programs need to be revamped so that they are more powerful and effective.
Hello everyone, my name is Jalen Watkins and I'm a sophomore studying economics and political science. I'm the vice president for Congress candidate and I have served on Congress the last 2 terms. I've led the implementation of various different bills on Congress by being the student relations chairman, and I have focused on transportation and sustainability. One of the initiatives that drew me to the InTouch ticket was their counseling and psychological services. Right now I feel like it's completely understaffed and unprioritized, and right now we're focusing on increasing the amount of free sessions, standardizing staff professionalism, as well as creating a more diverse staff.
Hi guys, my name is Tatiana Palija. I'm running for the InTouch candidate of Vice President of Administration. I'm a proud Hudson and Holland Scholar, a second-time Tappan Smiley Scholar, and most recently a McNair Scholar. I think that these achievements and recognition prove my academic achievement, my commitment to Indiana University, my perseverance, and most important, our work ethic. My time at Indiana University has allowed me to grow as a leader in various ways. One, as being a part of the Civic Leaders Executive Board, and as a coxswain on the women's crew team. Although my partners have mentioned very important, serious matters on campus, we keep our ears on the ground to bring fun initiatives too. For example, we're pursuing to bring the beloved Kirkwood food trucks to our campus. After reaching out to the Bloomington Council, we concluded that these initiatives would benefit both the Bloomington community and our university. I mean, imagine that. How fun would it be to go to tailgates and have these amazing food trucks available to us? Lastly, I want to touch on our motto. InTouch is a creative and liaison among the network of student organizations and administration. I think we're here to invigorate and promote efficiency through cooperation.
Nicely done. Congratulations. Unified, you've got 3 minutes.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I'm Andrew Byerls, the presidential candidate for Unify for IUSA. Joining me tonight is Mariah Smith, our vice president of administration candidate, Jack Langston, our vice president of Congress candidate, and Robert Liu, our treasurer candidate. So tonight I stand before you with a great sense of pride, and an even greater sense of responsibility. I'm proud to say Unify has already made history throughout this election, putting forth the most representative body of candidates, and also putting forth the most bold and aggressive policy platform in the history of this great organization. I am proud to head such a wonderful team, such a driven group of individuals. But along with such a great opportunity comes that great sense of responsibility. A responsibility to be more than words, but to act. We see it as a time of need for true transparency within this organization. Year after year, we see this organization go without any transparency or any accountability, year after year. And we see it as a time for change, a time to stand up against the most pressing issues our campus faces, including the rising cost of attendance, standing up against the epidemic of sexual assault and violent crimes on our campus, standing up to strengthen our health systems and support those who support us. The executives of the other teams will talk about their long experience within IUSA and our lack thereof. But I will tell you this, that 10, 15 years of communal complacency hold no water for 1 year of action. Ready, willing, and able to lead IUSA into the future. We stand as a voice of much needed change, a voice for progress, in lieu of more of the same. Armed with a vision of a safer, healthy, more engaged, and affordable community, we are ready to rev up IUSA and to make it work again, to make it work for you. And so I ask that you stand with us, that you roll up your sleeves, you fight with us, because together, only together, can we truly build a better IU. Thank you.
Okay, I hope all of you have shaken off the cobwebs now. You've all had your opening statement. My wife is the head coach of the IU volleyball team, and so she wanted me to ask what your favorite intercollegiate sport was, but that'd be a little too easy. So instead, I'm going to ask you, all of you listed priorities. Let me make a challenge to you. If you could only pick one of those priorities, one goal of your platform, and execute it, which one would it be and why? In touch, you're up first.
Well, I think overall we would definitely choose collaboration as the one thing that we would focus on the most, because the best part about it is that ties in everything. Be able to collaborate with all student organizations on this campus, we're able to work with them and create better programs for them. I think when more people work together, everything is more effective rather than people operate in their individual silos.
Yeah, and additionally, everyone's voice is stronger. There's definitely strength in numbers when people are collaborating. So whether we're focusing on improving CAPS or campus safety, any initiative takes more than just IUSA. So our goal is definitely to connect campus, kind of take over governance of student organizations, and really ensure that everyone's working together toward these goals to improve campus.
As I started to mention in our motto for our campaign, all four of us don't have all the answers. We can't pretend that we do. But in collaboration, we find answers from other student organizations. We find their problems and we create that network and that liaison to help them achieve their goals. It's important to realize that across campus, we have many organizations with similar goals and similar initiatives. And what better role for IUSA to take than to help them use their efforts efficiently in creating these changes happen. We can't prove and can't promise to have all the answers, but we know how to get them.
Amplify. One goal.
I think they make a great point with collaboration. But one thing that we're focused on is Ann said they'd like to take over governance of student organizations. That's not something that we'd like to do. That's something we would like to empower more student organizations through our goal of community engagement. That's the most important policy point that we have, and that consists of several different areas. Our main motivation behind that is realizing that the Bloomington community is one that's, as you know, so vibrant and has so many unique people and so many unique opportunities for students to get involved in something as simple as volunteering, or something as simple as living in the community that you're part of besides IU. So what we'd like to do is one thing that we'd like to do under that is the Bloomington Community Fair, which will give an opportunity for IU students to interact with families in the Bloomington community, bring families to campus, and will also serve as an opportunity by bringing in a carnival production company for a few days and having a real carnival with rides and games, etc., giving students an opportunity to volunteer and to also raise money for their organizations. We don't want to take over governance of these organizations. IUSA does provide funding through Funding Board, but we want to provide even more opportunities for student organizations to fundraise. Also, along with this engagement piece, we have our soccer and baseball tailgates, which is something that we've made great strides, as I mentioned, with the soccer and baseball teams too. I mean, we have some great teams. Again, as you know, with your wife being a coach, and it's something that we'd really like to get more students involved with and get more students connected, you know, not only with the Bloomington community, but also within the IU community. Also the food truck park, that's something that we've worked with RPS on to really hammer down some great goals, and they're 100% on board with zero foreseen roadblocks, as well as a meal points donation program, which will again empower more students to get involved with the community and really hold all the things that IU stands for in the right light.
Great. Unify. You have one goal?
Yes, I think the other teams brought up some really great initiatives, but we are fully committed to providing a transparent and accountable student government. It's not enough just to make promises during election season. We need to hold firm to those promises throughout the year. Over the past several years, we've seen the current administration engage in disorganized and negligent communication practices. In fact, it's taken 10 months for the current administration to even get a website online. It just activated 2 weeks ago. We think that's unacceptable. And as a student body, we demand more from our representatives, and we promise to deliver on that from the start. Our organization is committed to being the first administration to adhere to the promises of proactive transparency and to hold ourselves accountable to the same sunshine law requirements that are required by any municipal or state government. We are not here to make promises and then not deliver throughout the year. We have this comprehensive 16 by 16 plan that outlines 16 objectives that we think that we can accomplish by 2016. If we're not able to accomplish those, we don't want you to re-elect us. We don't want to hide behind the shroud of student government. We want to make this engaging and open to the entire community. Brooke, you want to talk a little bit about budgeting?
Sure. I'm running out about time here, so if you have any further questions, you can ask afterwards. However, one such initiative that we want to highlight is shifting from a block accounting system to more direct line allocations. I know that doesn't sound very sexy, but what it is it'll allow all students at IU to visit the IUSA website and see line by line exactly how we're spending our budget, so that you know your money is going to a good cause and it's not just disappearing down the drain. Thank you.
This will be our first 3-minute foray, and we have a couple of ways we can handle this, and we might handle it differently as we go along. If one of the tickets, if you feel an absolute urge here to respond to something that's been said, we can have some rebuttal time. You'll have 1 minute each, or I can do follow-ups. So we'll offer it up first if anyone wants to start with rebuttal. You want to start maybe amplified, look like you're nodding?
Sure, absolutely. I'd like to make a quick comment on what Rob said towards the end of Unify basically time. He mentioned not having a block allotted schedule for budgeting. I'm the current treasurer, so I should be able to speak to this. We do have direct allocations for each initiative that IUSA takes part in. If you can see the stage, I actually have a picture of our current budget. It's color-coded, and it has, by department, each one of the line items. So it's just something that, if I understand transparency, and that's something that we're working toward, and that's something that, our administration, the administration that I'm currently part of, the Plus ticket, we have really tried to be as transparent as possible. And it's something that with the website, yes, it took time due to some unforeseen challenges, but it's ever developing, and it's something that we're working toward.
Any further rebuttal on that could be on that, could be on other things you've heard? And again, I'm not asking in particular order. If you want to go ahead and I'm trying to be fair and keep it balanced, so it looks like in touch you were kind of signaling you were ready to go.
So I did just want to clarify something I said about governance of student organizations. We very much view that as IUSA serving as a resource to every student organization and really being the glue that ties organizations together. We have almost 700 organizations on this campus, and let's face it, a lot of them overlap. Our vision is for those groups that are very similar to combine, realize that strength in numbers, and also for us to really serve as an extension of student life and learning. It's an understaffed office, and students should be able to help govern themselves in the student organization process. And one kind of aspect of that is working to improve the My Involvement website. I don't know if anyone here has ever used it. It's not very intuitive. So really utilizing our resources in the informatics department, get some students to improve that database, and go from there, and really encouraging student organization collaboration.
Unify?
Yeah, and really going back to the general conversation, is there are so many problems that IUSA could really have a great conversation to engage in. But until we fix the problems within IUSA, we'll never have the capacity to solve them. And that goes back to the budget. We talk about whether the quality of the budget is there or not. The fact is the allocations are based in blocks of $10,000, $8,000, $1,000 with little clue of the outcomes, which is really what a budget is there for, a planning tool to show you not only what we're going to spend and what we're going to spend it toward, but what it's going to do, where your money is going to go and how effectively it's being spent. And unfortunately, not just this administration, but year after year, the budget has simply pointed to these block allocations and these general programming titles. That's unfortunate, because unless you're sitting within Congress or within the executive administration, you don't know where it's going, and you don't know how effectively your money's being spent. And we think it's time for a change, and we will absolutely stick to a sense of budgeting that is truly based on a
Hey, you guys are doing great on time. I'm unlikely to cut you off when the stop goes up if I feel you're finishing up. This actually is kind of a good segue into the second question. And that is, and I know some of you are incumbents, so I'll word it a little differently. How would you improve or build upon the work of the current administration, or if you are the current administration on your own work? Unified, go first if you want to follow up.
I would like to personally improve Safe Ride. It's changed into safety escort these past few years. And on Fridays and Saturdays, it ends at 11:45 p.m. And let's face it, some students don't even leave until 11:45 p.m. And to me, it's just one of those things where I would like to know that my peers are getting home safe instead of having to, walk home or get a ride with someone that shouldn't be driving. Those situations are dangerous, and it needs to be fixed.
Yeah, and Safe Ride is really, and obviously the safety escort program that exists now through the IU overall administration being provided is really a great service as it stands. But we see that it doesn't fill the full void that we need there. The 2012 Student Voice Report called for a 24/7 student safety ride service. And the past two administrations had gone and assessed and piloted a program called Safe Ride, which had mixed results. But in the end, what we think should be the priority of the budget of this administration, where we put our money, is toward going and ensuring that students are safe, ensuring that our money goes back to the students, and that we're willing to spend that budget, I guess, towards something that's meaningful.
And again, if you want me to repeat a question, don't hesitate. I'm going to quickly repeat this one. How would you improve or build upon the work of the current administration? In touch, couple minutes.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I've been involved with the current administration, and I think two things they're doing really well, but that are slow initiatives that take several years, no matter who's doing them, is one, as we talked about, improving CAPS. That's a slow process. It takes a lot of work with administration. It's really about reallocation of resources, which is not easy on the university level. So really continuing the work that IUSA has already done to start chipping away at that process is definitely very important to us. And additionally, working on international student relations, which is another thing IUSA has worked very hard on in the past that, again, is important to us. So we've already done work with Peli Without Borders and worked with them on, how can we expand your program to the university as a whole. Jalen has a bit to add.
Yeah, one thing we would also like to focus on is the collaboration. Right now I'm on Congress, so I get to see firsthand how the different branches interact between each other. And when you have a democratic process, you need collaboration between the three branches. It's vital in order for that administration to be successful. And right now there's a lack of communication for all of the branches. And it's scary because the only time we really collaborate and get to interact with each other is for formalistic presentations or different different activities that require us to work together. So collaboration, just pointing on that again, is very important to us because it's necessary in order for us to stay on the same page as an administration. And as being the candidate for Vice President of Congress, that is something I definitely want to work on and prioritize for our administration.
Amplify.
Thank you. To speak on UFI's first point, we have a very strong relationship with Safety Escort, and we are proud of everything that is accomplished there. Since last year, we've implemented extended hours. Safe Ride was absorbed nicely by Safety Escort. Since then, there's been a mobile application launched, and now you can pick up later hours and be picked up from social venues. To talk on Jalen's point about there being more transparency between branches, our executive branch is updated every single week on the work of Congress. So your work is heard as a member of the congressional branch, and we are interested in working to collaborate. To talk on the idea of cross-cultural development, we hold this to be something that our administration has huge momentum in forming growth moving forward. I personally traveled on I traveled on the IU2U trip last year, and we are heavily involved. Our current administration is heavily involved in talks with BIU. We plan on improving overseas not only the IU2U program and our relationships with faculty and administration to help build that program and draw a closer community, but we also want to reconnect students in Bloomington. To further engage students, we desire a program that improves resources offered to international students. And this stems out of the collaboration with BIU that kicks off this spring. We kind of want to play a role in that moving forward and establish a student advisory board, as well as have a hand in the IU2U program, where we are encouraging students to collaborate with each other and setting up a more formalized process for students, incoming students, overseas questions to be answered. And we are very excited to continue growing and building on momentum that we have on state.
I would like to call an audible here and skip to the next question. It's a little bit longer, but I'm absolutely, I'll give you veto power even though I've been elected. If there's somebody feels extremely strongly that you want the opportunity to take a few seconds to respond, we can do that. Are you okay if I skip ahead? I'm skipping ahead. All right. I apologize.
Right, just to address AJ's response, yes, that is correct. The executive branch is updated every week with the bills that Congress passes. However, that does not go both ways. Congress has very little idea of what the executive branch is going through their head and really what they plan to do in order to resolve those resolutions that were passed. So really, this is basically something that needs to go both ways, and it's not just the executive branch knowing everything, but it's also all the branches knowing everything.
Okay, to be fair, then we're going to go ahead and don't feel obligated, but if you'd like to, go ahead.
I appreciate everything the past administrators have done for Safe Ride and Safety Escort, but it needs to continue to grow and improve. Sometimes I go out and how hard is it to get home sometimes? And I've had to walk home in the dark by myself at 2, 3 in the morning after dropping off other people. And it makes me feel uncomfortable and unsafe, and I never know what's going to happen. And I just want to improve on that and take the time slots that aren't being used throughout the other parts of the week and use them where students might need them most in times of real danger and trouble. Thank you.
Absolutely, and that's something that we'd like to respond to in terms of, as we mentioned, the Safe Ride program has been successfully absorbed by the Safety Escort program, and the Safety Escort program has offered more solutions to essentially augment the Safe Ride program. However, something that our administration will do better should we be elected is to market those changes. Clearly, other people on this stage even haven't, as very, very involved students on this campus, have not heard about the new changes that Safe Ride has made. Sure, there was an IDS article about it. Sure, we've tried to do some marketing with it, but as the next administration, that's something that we'll work to really improve, is the amount of information that is spread to students, and that's something that goes along very well, again, with our community engagement platforms. When you're interacting more with students as an organization, as the huge organization that IUSA is, you're able to spread more information to students and really inform them about the great changes that the executives and the legislative branch and the judicial branch are making.
I want to credit the commission. Most of these questions were submitted by the commission. I've not shared them with anyone. A couple of the questions are going to be even new to the commission members. They haven't heard. But last night I was emailing with the old dean of students, Dick McKeag, who was my advisor when I was in IUSA, and I was struck by this next question because it was exactly the kind of issue we were dealing with 33 years ago. And that is, it's a little bit of a long question, so stick with me, and then it's going to be amplify, unify, and in touch in that order. There are differing views on student government. Many see it as an advocacy role, while some see it as a programming organization. Moreover, the lines are often blurred between the role of the students and the role of IU administration in promoting change at the university. What do you see as the role of student government at IU, and how will you work to uphold that view? Amplify, you're first. If you need me to repeat parts of it, I can do it.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much for that question. And as it goes with student government, it really is something that is prominent at a university level. It is something that represents the student body as a whole. And with that, you do have to represent people on campus. And so one of the biggest parts of IUSA is Congress. And within Congress, you have 55 seats, and you pick people within the demographics of IU. So people who are representing Kelly School of Business, people who are representing the School of Education, people who are off campus, people who live in residence halls. Within those demographics, we have people who are passionate about that. And for our administration, instead of bringing in people who really are just within those demographics, we are looking for people who are actually passionate about student government. And this is one of the reasons why we are really taking a strategic plan with this. It's more something that we are doing very strategically, and we are looking for specific types of people who are very dedicated, very passionate about making change on campus. As go for the administration here, as Amplify, we are also the student government. We are the face of student government on campus. We represent different types of people. We have, like Nick said, we have athletes, we have student leaders, we have people who are just students on campus. And with that, we have to make sure that the students know that student government is not just something that really is high above in the university, but we're students as well, and we represent everyone on campus.
And one more point on that, the dynamic that you propose between advocacy and program is very interesting. I think that while we incubate programs, we are an advocacy firm, and we, in terms of that, we're mostly advocacy though.
Okay. Unify. If you need me to repeat any parts of it, let me know.
Wonderful. Well, in the end, IUSA's primary purpose is to serve as a representative body for all students. That it unifies the student voice. That it stands as an advocacy group primarily. That it is charged with bringing students together to enact change here on this campus and to grow a better community. And so we see it as our goal to truly build a representative administration. Administration that reaches out to all quarters of this campus and that brings together all students. And that is why we've already put together the most representative team in the history of this organization. And we are prepared to lead this organization to the future with that same mentality. This organization has a great and long history of bringing together innovative solutions by going and taking a broad base of students instead of having an insular group. And unfortunately, we've neglected that history these last few years, and we're ready to return it to what it was.
One major change that we're looking to implement if we were to be elected is executive structure changes. So we already see that the legislative body is by the Constitution supposed to be representative of all the different segments of the IU population. But one thing that we've really seen the past administration fall behind on is making their executive structure representative. Why don't students get a voice on policy implementation? That's something that we don't think is acceptable for the student vehicle for representation on campus. That's something that we're committed to change with special committees and ancillary structures within the organization so that no policy is implemented without the voice of the students on campus. Thank you.
In touch.
Okay, so definitely In Touch views student government as an advocacy organization. And that advocacy comes from filling the committee seats and being present at the meetings that have a spot open for us. So there are hundreds of committees on this campus that have a seat for a student where no student is going. So the responsibility of IUSA is to make sure students are sitting on those committees and that student voices are being heard every advisory board meeting, at every, budgetary council meeting, there's a place for a student and a student should be there. So in addition to that, it's about being robust, having a big office, having students available to sit on those committees who are able to attend meetings regularly. And in response to something Jack said about students not having a voice in policy implementation, students do have a voice in policy implementation if they're present at those meetings. So that's something we've seen in the past is that, for example, Transportation Board, Sustainability Council, these are important committees on campus that IUSA has not been sending student representatives to on a regular basis. And I think Jalen has a bit also to add.
Yeah, I just want to clarify a bit. Earlier it was stated that there's 55 seats in Congress. Technically, according to the bylaws, there's 62. To further explain that, I believe I'm the only vice president of Congress candidate that has actually served on Congress. So I can tell you firsthand that Congress is not representative. I represent the Greek extension, and I can tell you that the Congress right now is currently, basically it represents a large majority of Greeks that doesn't accurately display all aspects of individuals on IU's campus. So one of the goals we've prioritized is to actually represent each individual major and each individual department and each individual residence to actually display everyone's views and everyone's voice, so everyone has a chance. Thank you.
I'm going to ask a follow-up, and as part of your rebuttal, if you want to include responses to what you've heard, that's fine, but I would like to know, how do you view the role of the student trustee? Do you view the student trustee as being an advocate for students or as serving as any other member of the Board of Trustees might do? And there's no particular order, so I'm just going to be looking at any one of you to do it, though.
I
appreciate it.
Well, in the end, the student trustee is the linking institution between our student government and our students. I think too often the student trustee has been played as this very insular role. It's something that's very cut off. That's unfortunate. I think that we need to do a better job as a student government in engaging the student trustee, whoever that may be in this coming new term of student trustee. I think we need to do a better job of engaging them, but I think they also have to do a better job of engaging us as a student government and as a student body. And really, again, the role of the student trustee is to be that linking institution, to link students to the top administrators. The things that really are the big pressing changes that need to happen, they're that route sheet. They're that student voice. They're that one check that we have on the Board of Trustees. And I think it ought to be that way.
I mean, I think Andrew makes a great point there, in that we certainly have interaction with the student trustee and with the Board of Trustees, but the Board of Trustees, and something that we've worked so hard on doing in the past couple of years, is really making IUSA, not this linking connection that Andrew speaks of, but the actual voice of IUSA being heard more by the Board of Trustees. And even if that means having the student body president going and speaking to the Board of Trustees, sometimes in place of the student trustee, it's something that we've really taken an active role with because the Board of Trustees is a very, very heavy decision-making board. And the student voice is something that, it's a body of students and it's a university of students, and that's something that should be heard. So we obviously want to work with the student trustee, especially if they come from the IU Bloomington campus, and especially if they're an undergraduate. But at the same time, we also need to make sure that if it's not an undergraduate from IU Bloomington, we need to make our voice heard in other ways.
In touch.
Yeah, so I know the current student trustee, she's great, Janice. It's definitely an important role that is a very hard balance, I think. So the student trustee is a trustee in every sense of the word. They have the same voting power as the rest of the trustees. And because of that, I think have to definitely strike a balance between student advocacy and, considering every other stakeholder that the university must consider in every decision. So I think the role of IUSA president is to be the voice of the student body to the student trustee, to give the student trustee, consideration of the student voice. But at the end of the day, the student trustee is a trustee. And additionally, I don't know exactly what Nick was referring to when he said the president should have speaking time in place of the student trustee. That's not really how trustee meetings work. Presidents have their own speaking time in front of the board, and the trustees have their own speaking time. So that wouldn't really replace each other.
All right, we're going to go into we're good sign. I don't yet know who I'm voting for, so we're gonna have to go at it. Fourth question, and we're gonna go in touch, unify, amplify this time. What would you say are we've talked a lot about campus issues and IUSA issues. What would you say are the three most important issues facing IU Bloomington? Those may be student issues, IUSA issues, but what do you think are the three most important issues facing the campus itself? And we'll start with In Touch.
I think without a doubt the first one would be sexual assault awareness and prevention. That has certainly become a big buzzword, especially since the White House started the It's On Us campaign. So that is definitely something that we're going to tackle immediately. I know we have several programs that are going to be in place. We want to work with the Office of First Year Experiences to revamp the Welcome to College play. I was an orientation leader. I heard feedback that it wasn't exactly the most effective. It was a little too lighthearted given the gravity of the topic it was addressing. So we want to start there and create programs that follow a student throughout their entire tenure at IU and that they're actually effective. You know, they don't actually just have to sit through. They actually get something out of it this time. So I think about
Yeah, so in addition to that, definitely, mental health services. Healthy, happy students graduate, and it's just vitally important that we're providing students with the resources they need to address mental health issues as soon as they begin. So, like we mentioned earlier, just improving access to CAPS and improving students' ability to have access to CAPS sessions. Third.
And then last, I'd say it's third, we've been hitting on it all night, collaboration, getting organizations to work together. They operate in these individual silos too much and don't get a lot done. So if they can actually work together, it'll be far more effective. So for instance, if IUSA works with IFC for their Sexual Assault Awareness Month, it would actually bring more students together and more positive outcomes would actually come out of it.
And within that, also within the administration, it's important that we fix the structural problems that aren't getting anything done. I think it's important that if we want to get and achieve any of these goals, we have to have a government that's working, that's able to get things done.
Unify?
Yeah, certainly. Sexual assault is by and far the most pressing issue our campus faces. It is an epidemic, and it must be stopped. Beyond that, affordability, which I feel like the other two tickets really seem to leave behind. We face a crisis today. An entire generation of students that face so much debt, they are looking at 10, 15 years of time to pay it off. And then finally, student engagement. We need a greater role for students within this campus to step up and get involved with the administration, to have a student government that engages them, to go provide a student voice in all the activities, whether that's through service learning, whether that's through student, whether that's through the various student organizations. We have an obligation to do so. And that starts, again, with sexual assault and going and improving our bystander intervention training system. We see it as an obligation that from the very beginning, the day that you step on this campus for your orientation as an undergrad, you ought to be charged with armed with that information to have a safer campus, a more proactive campus. Too often when we address this issue, we only look at the advocacy, and we only look at supporting survivors, and that is a very important part. But we also have to take preventive steps, and I think this administration ought to do more to do so, and we certainly will.
Amplify?
Thank you so much. And the common theme here is really the sexual assaults and the personal health of all the students here on campus. Like Wes said, every student who comes here for orientation goes through the Welcome to College. And like Wes and I, who were orientation leaders, we know that although it is very lighthearted, there's also a process right after. It's called Hoosier Experience. And that's where you really get deep down into what the Welcome to College play was about. You talk about the different aspects and the different things that were in the Welcome to College play, and then you dig deeper. You talk about sexual assault on campus. You talk about all the resources and proactive resources that the university does to combat this. In regards to mental health, especially with CAPS, and was talking more about having more access. Just recently, actually in January 12th of this year, CAPS just provided a new resource called CAPS Now. Instead of having walk-in hours, they're going to make it more accessible. So you call in for a 30-minute free session, and then you get the resource that you were provided. In Also, going back to your question about the three main biggest problems and issues on campus, we also think that sustainability, cross-cultural development, and community engagement are also one of the biggest issues that we are trying to fix. And we have all these platforms such as, like Nick said, the food truck, bringing really the Bloomington campus and also students here alike together, and as well as sustainability, which Zach can talk more about.
So as we all know, sustainability is becoming a very important topic today. Our ticket has decided on several initiatives within sustainability, keeping in mind with the IU strategic plan. Some of our initiatives regarding sustainability include advocating for the Office of Sustainability. We'd like to create a sustainability board comprised of different organizations on campus. We believe that bringing together those voices and resources will really provide the Office of Sustainability the funding and the ability to provide a greater impact here on campus.
Okay, I let it go a little bit too long that time, or it's my fault, not yours. So we're going to let the other two have a little bit more time. And a follow-up, and Unify somewhat touched on this, but so you might want to just repeat that answer. But do you think that there's one issue that your ticket will work on that the other two tickets just won't work on? In touch, is that?
Absolutely. I think the biggest one is the Student Ethics Board reform. Like I said earlier, I was an executive on the IFC, and we heard a complaint a lot that the Student Ethics Board was often very slow, not very transparent, and often very intimidating. So we want to work with the university to completely revamp that process so that it's streamlined. There's an actual guidelines that they have to follow. There's precedent that's used in sanctions that are handed down. There's a statute of limitations too. Oftentimes there would be investigations into incidents that happened over a year ago when the first report came in. And then the number of ethics board members should also be capped. Currently it's a massive board, and oftentimes the organization is only represented by one person. So they have to answer to this massive board and they're intimidated by it. And then ethics board members should also go through a vetting process or should qualify the same.
I actually want to add something super quickly in response to what Sohi just said. There already is a student sustainability council and a sustainability advisory board, and no current IUSA member is sitting on those committees.
Unify, you had mentioned affordability. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I mean, is that maybe the one, or is there another issue that might be something only your ticket would work on?
So while we certainly are concerned about all of the issues that face our campus today, affordability is one that we think differentiates us from the other partners. 75% of your college expenses are peripheral expenses, whether it be housing, textbooks, etc. These are things that we can directly impact as an IUSA organization. We have a very aggressive policy plan targeting our affordability objectives. Some of our things that we're looking to accomplish over the next year would be revamping the way that we pay for tuition payments and for internship credits. One thing that we'd also like to do is forego our executive salaries in exchange for setting up a textbook fund to support underprivileged students who may struggle to pay the outrageous textbook prices that face us as a university. And along those same lines, we would like to aggressively push an innovative solution to textbook purchasing, an Amazon brick and mortar store. We've seen it being done at several universities across the country, and it has saved the average student 30 to 40% on textbook costs if effectively implemented. And that's something that we are very proud of and we like to pursue over this next year.
Big points for not mentioning the name Purdue. Apple, I'm going to ask you to keep it to 45 seconds to kind of keep it fair here. So, one issue you think you'll do? One issue you think you might do that the others might not?
Quick rebuttal on the Amazon brick and mortar store. Our current administration just signed into a partnership with Text.com, which we see as revolutionary moving forward, and it is aimed at lowering the cost of students and connecting each other, selling each other's textbooks. An issue that no other ticket will work on is cross-cultural development. As I mentioned earlier, we want to utilize the overseas offices a lot better than they are currently and continue to use our resources. Is an integral part of the campus strategic plan, and ultimately we want to better connect students who are coming from overseas with students in Bloomington and improving the communications between our Bloomington campus and the satellite offices and the prospective students around the world.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for adapting to my 45 seconds. Nicely done. Next question. And I have it written as turnout in IUSA elections. The truth is turnout in all elections is traditionally low. How will you communicate with your constituents, the prospective voters, and how will you seek to get your fellow students involved in campus issues if you're elected? Unify, you're up first. You need to repeat it?
Again, in the end, it starts with the campaign now. It starts with putting together a truly representative ticket, having a broad base of support of students from all across the campus, and having a large base. Unfortunately, year after year, you see tickets put up 35, 45 candidates. Half of them come from the same sorority or fraternity. And it's unfortunate because this organization can do so much better. And it can do and reach for such greater heights. And we really see it as an obligation that if we really want to go and prove to students that it's worthwhile voting within this selection, it's worthwhile pursuing this, you have to put up a great slate of candidates. And you have to put up a progressive policy platform. And I think we've done just that. But beyond that, it's really going and fixing the problems within IUSA first, before you can even begin to solve the problems outside. We have to have a transparent and accountable organization. One where you know not only what IUSA is, but what it does and what it's doing in your community.
Additionally, we've talked to tens, if not 100 different student organizations on campus during this pre-election season. And we've come to the conclusion that, either they feel disenfranchised or they don't even know what IUSA is and what it does. And we think that's absolutely unacceptable. And going forward, we are putting together one of the most aggressive reforms of the executive structure of IUSA in order to make sure that every student, again, has a voice when it comes to not only crafting policies, but to implementing them and to judging what their impact should be for the students' value. It's not fair just to let a small group of students act as the central board of power. We should be able to distribute the voice to the entirety of campus, and that is what we are committed to doing next year. Thank you.
Communication to constituents, involvement of students on campus, amplify.
Sure, there's some great points there, with transparency being one of the biggest ones that folks from Unify brought up. Transparency is very important, but you're ignoring the fact that students must remain engaged. Simply telling them what we're doing is not enough. You must find ways to make students more interested in IUSA, and that's how you're going to get higher voter turnout, not only for this election, and again, I'd like to commend the Election Commission. This is something that we've worked with them, to start making IUSA a more legitimate election process, and it's something that they've done an excellent job with. And it's something that now that these parts are in play, now it's time to actually go get more voters out there, now that these systems are in play. So to do that throughout the year, we're going to increase our student engagement by working with our community engagement platform, but also with our outreach department. This year we've implemented a ton, frankly, of new outreach initiatives, from moving speaking tours to increased surveys, to just finding out through a roundtable what students think of a policy point. And through that, you're encouraging students to become more interested in IUSA. It's simply not transparency, but the active engagement that we're going to get more voter turnout. So it's something that, you look into the future and you say, this election we hope to get 10,000 votes, 10,000 voters to vote would be great. Next year it should be more than that. And every year it should be more than that. And now that we have this system in play with the new election commission, where students are staying on the election commission their entire college career and staying unbiased and all of these great things, and having emails sent out to their all of these new systems, it's something that's going to allow us as an organization to thrive. And it's something that we'll definitely take advantage of in the future.
I was tempted to ask each of you to guess what that high-pitched sound was, but thank you for closing the door so we didn't have to do that. In touch?
I want to echo what Nick said about the Election Commission's reforms this year. They've done a great job getting more people involved that way. And we've been echoing all night about representing yourselves. Currently it seems like it's a bit of a closed game with IUSA. You look at Congress, it's majority white males. We want to be the collaborative ticket. We've already reached out to countless organizations and we've sat in on meetings with them. We've already started that conversation to see what they want from us. So we have that opt-in email system that we're going to set up. And then also our ticket brings with it a little bit of diversity. We have 2 Hudson and Holland scholars. We're all very well-rounded in terms of the team behind us as well. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just want to elaborate a bit on what Wes mentioned as far as an opt-in email. So our kind of vision for this is, a weekly maybe email from IUSA that fills students in, what we're doing, the progress we're making, what we're spending their money on, And through that, engaging students and just reminding them, you know, IUSA exists. We want to hear from you. We're spending your money. We want you to be informed about what we do, and we want you to tell us what you want from us. And definitely, that feedback loop has very much already been started during our campaign. We've worked tirelessly this entire semester to go to student org meetings, to be present in every part of campus that we physically can be present in.
We have 3 minutes, and I don't know if there's any compelling things to respond to there that I heard, but you know, back in my day, back in the 30s, you know, we would always have complaints with the IDS about coverage, and we complained that was why people weren't interested in IUSA. And what do you think, 2015, what do you think the biggest misconception students have about student government? Where it's an opinion, but maybe you don't agree with it. It's something you think, I know you believe that, but it's not accurate. Does anything stand out in any of your minds? In touch? You made the mistake of making eye contact with me, so.
Could you repeat your question one more
Sure.
time? I'm sorry.
Well, you know, I think there's a lot of people, a lot of students, and just in voters in general, who look at government and feel, I don't want to even be a part of that. I don't take it seriously. And sometimes there are legitimate reasons for that. But there's also sometimes beliefs about government and about student government that probably are misconceptions. Do you think there are things that you would like to communicate to the voters and to students that, look, I know you think this about IUSA and about student government, but it's probably not exactly the way you think?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of conversations with the student athletes just because I'm there all the time. We have breakfast there, dinner, whatever. And telling them that I'm running for student vice president or administrations, they look at me like, what is IUSA? What is that? What does that mean? And I think a common misconception is that, oh, you're doing that to put it on your resume. That's what I hear a lot from, and then I tell them, you know, no, my major is law and public policy. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I hope to get a PhD and then go into, hopefully, the foreign services using the skills that I learned in this position. I think a common misconception among the people I have spoken with is that this is simply just an extracurricular that we want to add to resumes. And I think I speak on behalf of all of us. This is something that we're not just looking to do in the university. We hope to carry this on throughout our lives.
And there's a lack of access that we want to overtake and be able to show the people that we want to hear from you.
Others, misconceptions about student government that you'd like to share with the voters that may not be the way they think it is about Unified?
So personally, I think the biggest misconception about IUSA is that it can't succeed. I've heard from countless student groups that what IUSA does is not relevant to them, that IUSA cannot, make the university a better place for them. We think that is absolutely not true. We think that IUSA has a phenomenal positioning and has phenomenal resources in order to bring a real difference and positive change to the students on this campus if the right team is in place.
And another thing is, a lot of people that I know, they feel like they can't fit into it or they don't belong in that circle. When really, I feel like everyone can fit into this circle and everyone's voice is very important, and that's something I truly believe. Thank you.
Amplify.
Thank you. I believe that many students see IUSA as a closed game, or believe that there's a closed game of IUSA. It's difficult to get involved, but with our outreach department, we really believe that we've been able to, in the administration, reach out to students through moving speaking tours, other things such as roundtable committee meetings where students are welcome to come and talk about different issues on campus. We believe that that's a great way for students to get involved, to voice their opinions, and to let the student government hear their voice.
Yeah, and Zach makes a great point. I mean, basically what we're doing here is saying that, there's all of these, and we've done a great job, our VP of Congress has done a great job this year with making sure these congressional spots get filled up and have a very high fill rate of a representative body. And that's something that, it's very important in that addressing the different things that IUSA can do. And you made an interesting point about the IDS earlier. It's something that when we're working with different bodies on campus, say the IDS, for example, when we're actually telling them these great things, it's something that they're able to push out to students, and it's something that we'd like to continue making strides.
Full disclosure, I came to IU to be a journalism major, and that's what my degree is in, and I went to work for the IDS after I worked for on IUSA. And I've been an avid reader all these years, and I've been incredibly impressed with their coverage of state issues given the fact that they're full-time students and trying to cover something that's happening up in Indianapolis. And so I've been neutral in all my questions, but I want to admit up front that I'm going to be a little bit more opinionated in this question. That doesn't mean I'm right, it means it's my opinion. I want to hear your opinion. This very day, the governor of the state of Indiana signed what is called the Freedom of Religion Act, which will, in my mind, allow open discrimination against the LGBTQ community. Whether it be that issue or issues of racial or gender discrimination, do you view the role of student government to include speaking out on federal, state, or local issues, or do you feel IUSA should focus only on what I would call traditional campus issues? And we'll start with Amplify.
That's a great point. I think that these are definitely issues that are facing students. And that is why IUSA does have this legislative affairs department, something that Anne has experience with, and it's something that we've tried to, in the past, not go beyond that department, but also, everyone on the executive team or everyone in IUSA in general should be mindful that, as a student in IU Bloomington, you're not only being affected by the policies that President McRobbie sets or Provost Rebell sets, you're being impacted by something like Religious Reform Act. So it's, there are issues that we try to, and that we will try to as a ticket, to inform more students of. Something that we've seen in our benchmarking, something that Michigan did. When there were some tough political debates going on, they actually brought students out and had a great response rate, actually, of bringing more students into these political issues. And it's something that we would love to bring light to, and it's something that we would hold events for, advocate for events for, and work with different student organizations to create these events where students are encouraged to come out and voice their beliefs. It's something, we have such a large and robust campus with so many different political views that it's something that we feel would be a spectacular opportunity. It's part of the learning experience, and it should be, in line with what you're doing in class, is actually, becoming a knowledgeable citizen in terms of where you're, in your locality or in your state or even the federal government, and being able to be familiar with these issues is extremely important for us.
In touch?
Yeah, so absolutely. It is definitely student government's responsibility to advocate on behalf of these issues as well. I think we've seen this on IU's campus recently with Freedom Indiana really taking hold on campus. That was very much a student-led initiative on this campus. IUSA Congress came out during that time with a resolution, against HJR 6. They were very active in opposition to that. Like Nick said, I'm our current Director of State and Legislative Affairs, so just being in that position is something I care strongly about, that we do have an open dialogue with the state government especially. Members of our team, Morgan Moore and Patrick Lockhart, are both very experienced with speaking in front of the state legislation, and I think we definitely have a team in place to do that advocacy if we are elected.
We look beyond the IU campus at issues at large that we want to address.
Beautiful.
Yeah, well, we see it as, in the end, IUSA is all about fostering community engagement, about getting students involved. But at the same time, we are a representative body. We ought not to be taking sides in political issues. We ought to be working with the State House, federal government, when we can push policy that concerns student advocacy. But at the same time, we shouldn't be meddling in divisive issues of the day. I don't think that's the role for student government, and I think we have an opportunity instead to really build up community where engagement is encouraged, where students are welcome to go and express their views. But at the same time, I don't think IUSA really should have that. I think that we should distance ourselves from that, be apolitical. And I think that's really how the Constitution of IUSA was very much intended.
Good to go? Any rebuttal?
I'd very much so like to comment on that. IUSA is an organization that is constantly sought out by people in the State House or even people in the White House for opinions. So whether or not we like it, whether or not you think that IUSA should be one that meddles in political issues, it's something that we're constantly asked for feedback on, and if we're not asking for student feedback and if we're not gathering student opinions, then we're failing at our job. So I think that I would take a very strong stance on this, and everyone on my team would take a very strong stance on this, and that we must bring these political issues to light and get the student voice so we can be actively representative of the student voice. Otherwise, we're simply representing our own voices as maybe 4 people on the executive team. We need to take these political issues into light, and we need to gather input, and then we'll be able to make informed advocacy.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and 100% agree with Nick. It is definitely our responsibility to take the student voice to the legislatures. Again, it is something they ask for, and it's something IU administration frankly expects of us. They want to work. IU's kind of like lobbying body wants us to be present and wants us to, inform them of what students are wanting, and that's just, it's an integral part of student government in my opinion.
Anybody, would you like to follow up?
Quite frankly, we think it would be overstepping our reach in order to represent the voice of the student body before we ourselves are a truly representative organization. We've seen year over year of not true representation, and before we can act as the sole voice for IU, we should have voices from all sections of the campus. So I definitely agree with the other parties that we do have a responsibility to be the leaders of the campus, but without taking into account of what everybody on the campus is thinking, we think that it would be a little bit arrogant in order to portray or project our own values onto the entirety of IU.
When I came to school here, I always assumed I'd do my 4 years and move back up to Chicagoland and watch the Cubs lose. And yet here I am all these years later. You never know what your plans will be. And I try to always tell that story to students because I don't want people, even if you believe you're only going to be here while you're in school, you never know what will happen. And I hope that people, when you are here, feel that you're a full part of the community if you choose to be. People don't realize Bloomington is the 6th largest city in the state of Indiana, but without the student population, we'd be the 23rd largest. That's the impact you have on our economy, our culture. And so this is your chance to tell the mayor what he's not doing right. What would you see if you could, in maybe 30 seconds or so, see, I'll limit you on that. What would you say that the city of Bloomington, I think one thing that all 3 tickets would agree on is there are issues that absolutely directly impact students, and some of those are city issues, whether it be the dreaded parking meters or police or whatever it might be. Are there things that you know in town that you'd like to see the city government working with the student association on? I'll start with In Touch, kind of put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I guess I would start with kind of sustainability. I think that's something the city and the university can really work cohesively together on. Working on, figuring out, are we single stream or multi-stream recycling? What's the most efficient way to do that? How can we work together to regulate, our carbon footprint? How can we, maybe by implementing like a bike share program between the city and the campus is a way to do that. And Jalen?
Right, to be fair as well, Bloomington is making measures with sustainability. I know Jackie is currently working on the Monroe County Challenge, and so I'm actually helping her out with that. But, sustainability is huge, and, we believe that that's a crucial issue in Bloomington that we want to take advantage of. Thank you.
Great, amplify.
To speak briefly on the bike share program, IUSA has had a lot of experience with that in the past, and some of the key issues that need to be worked out is not only working with the town of Bloomington, working with the IU police, working with anyone off campus, any constituents off campus, communicating with the university and potentially Bloomington architects. We need to consider that we have only a set amount of bike racks right now, and ultimately we need to work with the town potentially for a budget for that. Ultimately, we want the Bloomington community to be more involved with students, so in any way, shape, or form moving forward, that IUSA can continue to speak at city council meetings or be involved in the board. We just want to continue that track moving forward.
Unify, can you help me do my job better? Any advice?
I don't know about that, but we definitely like to see continued engagement between the students at IU and the city of Bloomington. We've already seen students calling Bloomington their home. And one thing that I think we'd like to see in the coming years is an increase in small business growth in order to support student employment in the community and really make it so that students here on campus can call Bloomington a true home, where they can not only enjoy the different recreational facilities and businesses here, but also contribute to making Bloomington an even better city than it already is.
Thank you to all of you. And thank you for all of your answers tonight. And now we're going to turn to closing statements. Unify, you have 3 minutes.
I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and again, the opportunity to express their ideas and share our vision with everyone. You're coming upon a decision in 2 weeks that really will play a large role in the future of this organization and in the future of this campus. So when you pull up that link in 2 weeks, and you cast your vote for a slate of student leaders, just know the sky isn't going to fall if you choose something new. Chicken Little will be just fine and the world won't end if you choose progress. Now, more than any year, maybe the last half decade, you have an opportunity for a better IUSA and for a better IU. I ask that you seize it, that you stand for a bold, aggressive vision, that you look to policy as your electoral guidepost. We believe in the power of our fellow students to enact real, meaningful change, the type of change that only new leadership can provide. Instead of settling for the goals of a complacent organization, it's time for action. Time to take on affordability, to take on sexual assault, to take on sustainability, to take on mental health. Because if we don't, who will? And if we don't take a stand now, then when? Armed with a positive, distinct vision for building a better community and staffed with able, driven leaders, we are ready. We are prepared, we are willing, and we are able. And now is the time for something. Now is the time to take a stand. Now is the time to unite the student body. These next 2 weeks are sure to be hard, they're sure to be long, they're sure to be difficult. But through it all, I would appreciate your support. Not for me, but for building a better community. For the 16 by 16 plan, and for the better of one another. And so, I humbly ask for your vote. I thank you for the opportunity to share our message.
Thank you, Unify. In touch.
So I just wanted to start off by saying thank you to you, Mayor Kuzan. We definitely appreciate this. And to the Election Commission for putting on this great event. So we just started In Touch because we know the history of IUSA. We know what kind of dynamic organization, we have the potential to be. And we are not, as Andrew said, satisfied with the status quo. We think it's time for a change in the administration, and we think we're a good balance of experience and new ideas. We also believe that IU student government should be representative and inclusive of all students. It should be as big as it possibly can be while still being manageable, and it should be open to anyone who wants to lead on this campus. I just want to kind of thank my team. They're great. Thank everyone in the audience who came to support In Touch. And just say, I don't know, this is cheesy, I guess, but this whole campaign has just been a great experience. It's been so fun building this campaign with these people, and I'm just so proud of everyone here, our presentation to you guys tonight, and now you know who we are. And so, again, I guess as Andrew said, but with In Touch, on April 9th, when you click that link, vote for us, and thank you so much for everyone who came, and to you guys, and this has been great.
Thank you, In Touch. Amplify, last word.
I mean, to echo what Ann said, we've really enjoyed introducing ourselves to you. And thanks so much, Mayor Cruzan. Thank you so much for the Election Commission. And thanks to everyone in the audience, regardless of who you're supporting, for taking an interest in student government and being here to see our actual ideas put on display, as opposed to, whatever you might see in terms of advertising or logos. It's actual ideas that count. It's ideas and experience that count the most. So it's something that Unify maybe says, well, we need more progress, and that's something that we could not agree more on. We have already begun building on the progress that we are going to, if we are elected, that we are going to continue forming within the next year. There are things that you simply, you build relationships with administrators, and it's something that we've done a great job with. It's something that we've been commended by the provost for several times. And taking an active stance on and communicating with the dean of students, and communicating with not only the students who are bringing forth ideas, but also the administrators, so we can help to bring these ideas to light. And there's simply things that, in terms of policy, that we're, besides the people, besides the relationships we've built, we have better ideas. We have the most complete policy platform. It's something that you have to look at in terms of sustainability. It's something that we brought up that we have developed the most on. Now, InTouch brings up that, you know, they really like to do some great things with the Bloomington community for sustainability. We actually have, in the IU community as well, we actually have these platforms to bring forth actual change in sustainability. In cross-cultural development, we're making great leaps with the VIU program, with IU2U, expansion of that, and with new programs with an international student connection that we would create. In terms of personal health, we have Sohi, who is the co-chair of Culture Care right now. She's had tremendous experiences in both the realm of improving mental health and sexual well-being, and these are things that we take great pride in. Lastly, community engagement is something we've been harping on all night. It's something that's absolutely crucial to get students more interested in IUSA, to get more voters for IUSA, and to really engage, besides outside of IUSA, to have a more cohesive student body. And that's something that we feel is the most important thing that we could possibly have, is a cohesive student body that brings forward their ideas and rallies behind their ideas, and a student government that's active in advocating for these ideas to be heard. And it's something that we will do if we're elected. And, again, thank you so much to everyone who came out tonight. We really appreciate your vote on April 8th and 9th, and we really appreciate it, after today, you remain more engaged in the election and keep watching the things that we bring forward and the other tickets bring forward, so you're able to make the most informed vote possible. And again, we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Amplify. I want to say that I joked a little earlier about I hadn't made up my mind who I was voting for. I believe that, very sincerely, that you all have made it a difficult choice, and that's the way it should be. I also sense that there's always going to be some friction. I think it's healthy to have friction. That's what elections are about. My unsolicited advice is that if you win, your first call is to the other two tickets and ask them to help to participate in your administration. And you really all did far better than we ever did in debates back in my day. On April 8th and 9th, you all can vote, I believe, I'm looking to make sure I'm not making a mistake here, at a polling station from 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., but also online from 10 a.m. on April 8th until 10 p.m. on April 9th. And I would ask you, could anything be easier? No, I don't think so. I really do want to applaud all of you for caring enough to be here tonight, and I would like all of us to applaud the candidates for putting themselves on the line.